प्राइम मिनिस्टर इंडिया के जो है नरेंद्र मोदी वो इस वक्त अपने जो LAC है वहां पे जाके ट्रुप से खिताब कर रहे हैं। उन्होंने हिंदुस्तान की कौम को भी एक बड़ा स्ट्रांग मैसेज दिया है, चाइना को भी एक बड़ा स्ट्रांग मैसेज दिया है, और काफी दिन से हम इसको डेवलपिंग स्टोरी को कवर कर रहे हैं आपके लिए कि इंडिया और चाइना के बीच में हो क्या रहा है। सो आई मीन टू बी ऑनेस्ट, वी आर नॉट द डायरेक्ट affectees of this border issue that is going on. So it is only fair that we ask an Indian counterpart to join us today, who understands the situation and who can brief our viewers about it. I have with me a very prominent journalist from India and a very good friend of mine, Neena Gopal. She's joined us specially today at my request. And hello and welcome, Neena.
Thank you very much, Mubashir, for inviting me onto your program.
Thank you.
I'm quite honored. We've been friends for so long, but we shared thoughts, but I never expected to be interviewed on your channel.
Actually, we need to be educated and enlightened. I mean, because we believe that India and China are on the brink of a major conflict. But how do you see the things in India over there?
I think today's, visit by Modi to the troops, I think sends out a message to the Chinese that they're not going to allow any more of the encroachment that they see and the change that the Chinese troops have effected over the last 6 weeks. On that very crucial road which the Indians have built, and the Chinese have objected to, because that road connects, the capital of Ladakh, Leh, all the way up to the Karakoram Pass. And it also goes through the Shyok and the Galwan River and that valley, which is also very critical for China vis-a-vis its connectivity as it sees it into Gilgit and Baltistan and all the way down to Gwadar.
So that means
I think that's the message.
India is overlooking the CPEC route, and China doesn't like that.
Yeah, well, India never supported CPEC. If you remember, Modi right in the beginning had said that he wouldn't take part in BRI, and he has very steadfastly said, made that position over and over, that they're not going to support CPEC because they see, Pakistan. They see the Kashmir, which is controlled by Pakistan, as occupied Kashmir, and so they do not accept a road that goes through it. Theoretically, I mean, on the ground, the situation is different, of course, but for the greater, the masses to be told that, yes, we accept it because the land is already under the control of the Pakistanis, or as Aksai Chin is under the control of the Chinese, would be very difficult, a difficult message for Modi to send out to the people of India.
So what is happening? Correct me if I'm wrong. China is already into Indian territory. They have taken a lot of land that belongs to India. As per India, a lot of Indian soldiers have been killed in the conflict over there, and Modi says you are not to move any forward. So that means India accepts whatever China has done so far.
I think since the 62 war with China, which was a huge, punch in India's face, I think the line of actual control that John Lay and Jawaharlal Nehru sort of agreed to has been in place for the last so many years. I think the change happened, the perception in India is that the change happened after 2012 when Xi Jinping took over. And this Xi Jinping's, China, dream basically shows China as the preeminent power in Asia. And I think that is where India is, India has finally woken up to that fact. I think it made a very strategic miscalculation, believing that the real enemy was Pakistan and not China, not understanding that China was creeping into its territory. There have been 21 incursions since 2012 alone, and not incursions, basically infractions, small little infractions, on the border, particularly in the eastern sector, in eastern Ladakh. And I think the idea of China, coming in and taking over the area which they call Southern Tibet, which they had all but ceded to India. They've only made small noises when the Dalai Lama went to Tawang, which was his birthplace, and so on and so forth. So I think that very comfortable arrangement that the Chinese and Indians had arrived at, where they do not specify, despite India asking, they do not specify where the actual LAC is, the line of actual control is, unlike Pakistan, where India and Pakistan came to an agreement on where the line of control is. And despite the infractions and despite the trouble on that border, it's always been accepted as an international boundary stroke LOC. In China, I have been told by people who've taken part in these discussions on the border with China that China never actually accepts the border diagrams that are given to them, the maps that are given to them. They would never acknowledge that that is the line of actual control. They would push it to another meeting and another meeting. Like that, there have been God knows how many meetings over the last so many years. And I think that suits China to a great extent because it keeps India on its toes, and it sort of keeps India off balance, while it continues to make these small little moves where it moves forward. And I think in the case of the BRI and CPEC, this is a definite message. Why cut off the Galwan Valley? You know, that Galwan Valley seems to be the one that is really, that they're not going to give up, because they've come up right up to, as you know, there are 8 spurs on that Galwan Lake, and where India could patrol on top of the spurs up to Finger 8, they have been stopped since the first week of May from going beyond Finger 4. And from all the satellite imagery that has been shown on all our television stations, it shows that they have come up to Finger 3. So I think Galwan is where China is determined to stay put.
So that means
it's come up this far, it's not going to go back.
That means, Reena, correct me if I'm wrong, that Galwan and the highway over there, that is a direct route for logistics supplies to Siachin and Kargil. So if you can't do that in the next 2 months, so it is very easy, and without firing a bullet, Pakistan can simply walk over the Siachin glacier and Kargil and take it over. What will India do in that case?
Yeah, there is a very big danger that India now faces, because in the past it has always massed its troops and focused all its attention on the western border with Pakistan. And this looks like a pincer movement in the making. Whether Pakistan and China are working in tandem, which is what it's a very divided house. Most retired army generals say they are not working in tandem. A lot of them believe that this is part of China's plan to see to it that Pakistan takes over the, works in tandem with it, so takes over the Siachin and takes over the Karakoram Pass, and China does the same thing further down, so that, India no longer has access to its highest, airstrip, which it had just made into a brigade headquarters. This is Daulat Beg Oldi, right on top. So there is very much a feeling in India among one set of the army that this is a double move, and this is a concerted move, and where Pakistan and China are working in tandem to cut India off.
But look at it this way, it doesn't matter what is the level of threat, but look at it this way, Nepal is beginning to disagree with India openly. Bangladesh is voicing its concern. Bhutan is raising fingers at India. Pakistan and India have no love lost. Why is it that suddenly India has become so unpopular with every neighbor?
I don't know whether you remember this, Mubashir, but years and years ago, Chandrika Kumaratunga, when she was president of Sri Lanka, delivered a very interesting speech in, I think it was in Islamabad, at a very major college, where she actually brought out this. She said India's big brother syndrome was affecting its ties with its neighborhood, and she brought up the fact that Sri Lanka was paying the price for that big brother attitude attitude. So I think India, it has that issue. India is perceived in that way by the neighborhood. I'm not saying that Vajpayee Saab and and Manmohan Singh and Gujarat didn't work to on that issue at all. They did. I think they reached out to all the neighbors, all of them when they came into office. So did Prime Minister Modi. But our neighborhood is not a quiet, peaceful backwater. It's where things happen. It's where China has worked actively in Nepal to undermine Indian interests. It's not that India is not at fault. Indian ambassadors are notoriously referred to as the viceroy. When they come in to serve, that is there, that is a problem. But I think India's civilizational connect with Nepal nearly always wins the day. I mean, there's another phrase where they say we are masters at at grabbing defeat from victory in Nepal over and over, because all of these gentlemen, Prachand and Oli and Madhav Kumar Nepal, all people who were very close to India at one point. And I think that whole government, the anti-monarchy movement, was actually, had India's blessing to a great extent. So I think we've miscalculated. There's no question we've miscalculated the feelings of our Nepalese brothers. I mean, our Air Force is full of, Gurkha fighters. Our army has got a whole Gurkha regiment. One of the senior most serving generals was a lieutenant general from Nepal. So there is a big connect. I think but I don't think all is lost in Nepal. I'm sure that they will manage to win them over. We brought Sri Lanka, I think, back from the Chinese dragon. We have Myanmar. I mean, Xi Jinping's visit to Myanmar did not go as well as he thought it would. Bangladesh, yes, we have messed up with the article by offering, to regularize refugees who are only Hindus and not Muslims. That has not gone down well in Bangladesh. But Khaleda Zia is a waning force. And Sheikh Hasina is still a friend of India's. So small steps. I mean, and the same thing is true with the Maldives. We've managed to bring them back into the I mean, we have a friendly government at last in Malé after some time. So I think it's work in progress.
But Neela, can I make a personal observation over here and a personal remark without offending you or any of our viewers? I remember, it seems like a different lifetime now that you and I used to work together in Dubai. And in that organization, there were about 3, 4, maybe 5 Muslims, including myself. And majority of them were from India, and they were Hindus or Christians or whatever. But not even once did I ever feel that we were outnumbered, because nobody tried to bully us, nobody tried to push us. In fact, when we used to fast, they would observe token fasting with us. They would lead us at prayer times. And they did not smoke during the Ramadan because they were respecting us and all that. And it wasn't law, they were just not doing it. Out of all, and India was truly a secular nation, the Indians were. Where did you go wrong? I mean, why has this hatred stemmed all over, within and outside India?
See, I don't think that has changed, frankly. I mean, I interact with, day before yesterday, I was interviewing a Congress politician, and both the boys who were handling the camera were Muslims. And they kept telling me, this is not the right angle, I want you to look good, turn this way. We have that compact that we have with Muslims and Hindus and Christians continues. I don't think the rabid the mobs that actually are unleashed from time to time in Rajasthan and in Maharashtra and in UP, in Uttar Pradesh, is true of all of India. And the way that or Gujarat even for that matter with Godhra, but when you stoke that, the anger of the Hindus, it's basically because they are fed a story, and it's a mob mentality. And that is true of any country anywhere in the world. I mean, you see this. You saw what the Black Lives Matter movement, and you saw this hatred against the blacks that has come up. I mean, that has been true of parts of India for such a long time, for centuries. But the true character of India does not change. You know, I mean, we will come back. I mean, right now you have a Hindu majority government, you know, but you know, the point is, people also voted for this government because they felt that the government that had come before it was corrupt and was basically eating up their future. So Modi did not come to power, you know, selling the Hindu supremacist ideology. The BJP may use it from time to time to win elections by creating one mob killing of a beef seller or something like that, and you know, beating someone to death in the most barbaric manner. But the core of India, I think, understands and wants a government that gives you jobs. Right now, with the economy imploding the way it is, this is what they want. And survey after survey is showing that young people who voted for the Modi government want the economy. If he shows, you know, a commitment to improving the economy, he will win. Otherwise, he won't.
Okay, Nina, in the next segment that we do with you, that we'll be talking about India, COVID-19 and Indian economy. But for this moment right now, we have to end this, and if you have any questions with Nina Gopal, you can send them to me in the comments section, and we'll be happy to forward them to her. And